My name is Prevail, and I will be introducing the topic Slacktivism, going beyond online engagement. I believe that it is our responsibility as humans to make the world a better place for everyone. We are capable of doing so, and as a species, it is our willingness to evolve that has brought upon revolutions and societal progress. Change is about embracing the unknown. Change brings upon an excitement because of the new opportunities it provides for growth, but it also brings a fear of the new challenges to face. Regardless of our feelings towards change, it happens around us all the time. So, what is change? Change is defined as anything that is different from what has been consistently accomplished. And today we will be looking at changes accomplished through activism. Activism are actions that bring about political, economical, and social change. It has been present throughout history, leading to developments that have allowed us to enjoy the freedoms we have today. Activism works by establishing a social responsibility to talk about issues that impede growth and create a public commitment where people develop a willingness to invest in causes that they believe in. There are many forms of activism, and one of the most conventional forms of activism is protesting. And although protesting may not always yield to immediate change, it does promote long term restructuring. Activism doesn't necessarily change the way decision makers think about issues, but it does start conversations, and conversations stimulate reform. Believing in activism is a choice. It is also a choice on how you choose to attain change. Engaging in activism sometimes correlates to your background, your morals, your values, and what you believe to be meaningful to you. However, I think that we can agree that the general idea of activism is mostly looking at a bigger picture and taking intentional measures to help others. In our modern society, the measures in which you take to promote change or raise awareness has become largely impacted by the use of social media. In the age of technology, there is no denying that digital communication is impacting our lives and reforming the major social issues of our era. There is no question that the internet has made it easier to organize mass campaigns by creating an abundance of distribution channels and by lowering the cost of organizing a campaign. It has enabled more people than ever before to get their message out to a much wider audience. With all the good that technology has created, it appears to have a negative connotation when associated with activism. Slacktivism, a demeaning term used to undermine anyone who chooses to engage in hashtag movement. Slacktivism was first used to describe young activists who could not engage in big efforts of social justice like protesting. Today, choosing to engage in online activism is seen as being lazy and deemed ineffective. What is contrary to this is that the study was done in 2011 and it found that people who use social media to promote causes were actually twice as likely to support those causes both online and offline. Publicly shaming people who use social media for social change is not productive. Rather, we should focus that energy to encourage each other to be better people in our society. When you witness an injustice in the street or at work or in shopping centers, speak up and report crimes or offer your support. But when you're far away from an injustice, there is no shame in using social media to reach those who can directly help victims. I don't believe there is a conventional method in creating change. Things like speeches, marches, and sit ins are only tools, and social media is just another tool. Sure, there are people who will passively post likes on Facebook and never talk about the causes again, but similar groups of people can be found in almost any organization. What is important here is that we focus on the positives amongst the adversity. There are many social injustices that one can choose to focus on, such as homophobia, child abuse, labor exploitation, and racial discrimination, to name a few. For me, Racial discrimination is an injustice that has continued to survive for so long that I cannot believe it is still a battle in my time. When the Black Lives Matter movement reached its peak this year, I wanted to partake in the movement, but I didn't know how. Social media seemed like a possible solution, considering that I spent most of my time on social media. Having the hashtag Black Lives Matter movement definitely made things easy for me. But what became a challenge was that as someone who is used to abstaining from sharing or communicating matters related to any social or political views that may offend or cause harm, I had to find a way around it. I had to become comfortable with sharing my views to a wider audience. But posting online stories and Facebook on Instagram and sharing posts quickly created another dilemma for me. I wanted to be able to partake in this social movement in a way that was effective and sustainable. With social media, I could reach many people, but affecting change is another thing. So I attended street marches and started to get comfortable in engaging in racial conversations. I still felt like that wasn't enough. I kept putting out more informative posts on my social media and reading more about racial discrimination so that I was up to date with current matters. And I still felt like there was more I could do. But what I came to realize is that my experience has taught me that I don't need to create flashy big changes. I can do what I do best, and that is starting conversations. After all, change is obtained by starting conversations. Conversations through social media can help masses understand politics and society at large better, and help people recognize that they have the power to make a difference, even in small ways. Social media activism is the kind of activism that literally any person can do. It does not require any elaborate special skills, only that you set up a social media account and use your platform for good. And although some may view Slacktivism as a compromise for real activism, those two go hand in hand. This online advocacy is actually really powerful, not only in raising general awareness about social injustices, but even how government partake in it. On June 2nd, 2020, thousands of black boxes filled the screens of mobile phones, tablets, and computers with the hashtag Blackout Tuesday to show solidarity against systemic racism. The number of black squares that nearly crashed social media does not correlate with the amount of change that has been seen since then, indicating that people are not going beyond the hashtag. The takeaway here is that hashtag or temporary profile picture usually does little on its own, but combined with activism, we can start to see a difference. There is evidence that going beyond hashtags can lead to change, one of them being the Ice Bucket Challenge in 2014, in which the ALS Association, short for Amyotrophic Lateral Sclerosis, was able to raise funds to help scientists to discover an important gene contributor of the disease. The Black Lives Matter movement has led to a continued space in which includes stage funding and logistical support for Black queer youth in Toronto. Most importantly for me as a Black person in New Brunswick, I am happy to see that New Brunswick has established an official Black Lives Matter chapter to highlight problems faced by Black members of the community. These are some of the few examples in which a hashtag activism has played a role in achieving. So how does one go beyond sharing a post or liking a post about a social injustice that they care about? Social media engagement has little to do with how many followers you have or how many likes, comments, and shares you can get, and more to do with having an engaged audience. You could have thousands of followers, but if your posts are limited, misguided information, you could lose the interest of your followers, leading to ineffective online activism. And the most important step in providing quality content to engage your audience is educating yourself thoroughly to avoid spreading misinformation. It is important that you know your audience, so ask them questions and encourage your audience to ask you questions. Educate your audience by providing proper resources and advice. Going beyond online engagement can be achieved when you have created a network that goes far beyond existing social gaps through shared values and meaning. Such a social connectivity gives access to a wider range of ideas, perspectives, experiences, and most importantly, representation. So I urge each and everyone here to pick an injustice that they feel has meaning to them and to take the next step. You don't have to make grand gestures, and you certainly don't have to be perfect in your quest for change. Take baby steps and see where your feet might lead you. You might be surprised at what you're capable of. Thank you.